If Howard Stern is the king of all media, he may have missed the opening in the podcast world because my first guest is the OG of podcasts. He launched in early, and now guests like Barack Obama call him to get booked on the show. Comedian Marc Maron, his hit show WTF with Marc Maron, has been downloaded hundreds of millions of times, and his secret is directness. It was the interview that made international headlines and skyrocketed Marc Maron into the next level of fame.
Am I in the orange chair?
Orange chair for you, Mr. President.
Outstanding.
President Barack Obama sitting in the middle of the comedian's cramped and cluttered garage, millions tuning in to their intimate conversation in 2015.
That would be a problem.
It would be a problem.
If the president was feeling stressed about
Coming to my garage.
coming to your garage.
It was a full circle moment for the comedian who for years battled against addiction and in 2009 was struggling both personally and professionally when he launched the podcast with little expectation.
All right, let's do this. How are you, folks? It's Marc Maron. This is WTF.
It quickly went from a cult favorite to a worldwide phenomenon with an army of loyal listeners and a revolving door of A-listers like Leonardo DiCaprio, Kerry Washington, and Paul McCartney. The success of the podcast springboarded Marc's career, leading to roles in movies like Joker and Netflix comedy specials like his latest, In Times Fun.
I got a text about a month or so ago from my mother in the middle of a nice day, all caps. I wish we could do your childhood over. With a little baby bottle emoji. What does that even mean?
But at a moment when everything in Marc's life finally seemed to be in harmony, this past May, he was left shattered and heartbroken when his girlfriend, director Lynn Shelton, died suddenly.
I loved her. I loved her a lot. And she loved me, and I knew that.
8 months later, with the support of friends and fans around the world, Marc is slowly talking through the grief and getting back to doing what he does best, making people laugh and think. So Marc Maron rarely gives daytime interviews. He'll explain that coming up. But today he's here with us from his home in Los Angeles, California, the one and only Marc Maron. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Okay, the last time we were together was 2014. I was at the Today Show, and then you tweeted me after the show. I have the tweet. It said, "Hey, Tamron Hall, nice working with you this morning. You good?" 6 years later, Here we are, Marc. I'm good, but I've been thinking about you a lot. How are you? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm better. I'm doing okay. It was a difficult year, obviously, for everybody and for me in specific ways. But, I get up, I try to meditate, I do some yoga, I do my interviews. Yesterday, I interviewed Salma Hayek. So, thankfully, I have been able to continue working through this process of my personal grief and the grief we're all going through with the pandemic and just dealing. So I'm okay, Tamron. I am okay today.
Yeah. I read a quote that you had in the New York Times. You said about grief that it is a fundamental human experience and that we are built to carry it for ourselves and for others. And that's been such a phenomenal part of your podcast, whether it is the heartbreaking grief of losing Lynn to other challenges. You've used this podcast form to become more intimate. Did you have any idea that it would break through? Because as I said, you were before everybody else. You were we were sending you out there to test out whether there was life available in those waves.
Well, I mean, nobody was sending me out, and there weren't that many podcasts around. I mean, there were definitely people before me, but I think I helped myself and Brendan McDonald, my producer, in creating the show, helped popularize it a bit. But really what drove me initially was just flat-out desperation, Tamron. I was in trouble. Things were not going well. I felt like my comedy career was over. I'd just been fired from a radio outlet. And Brendan and I were like, can we do this thing? I know that Carolla's doing it and a couple other people. Can we try it? So the only commitment we made initially was to do a new show every Monday and every Thursday. And we've done that since September 2009. So there was no way to make money. No one knew what to do with it. and we were working on donations, and we were sending out like stickers and T-shirts to people that donated money. My entire house was filled with hundreds of envelopes. It was crazy, and I was having people over. It evolved into an interview show over time.
Yeah.
And I was so bitter and so dark and so weird when I started. And I knew I'd been in show business long enough to have friends and stuff. So basically, if you'd listen to those first 100 episodes, it's me inviting celebrities over to talk about my problems.
Well, that's what. But that's the hit. You know, we were just talking before we started the show about podcast is so interesting because the audio, the sound, the intimacy, all of it. It lends itself to what you did at the beginning, really, which is unloading. It's like, I'm just going to tell you everything about me, and here it is.
Right, to major stars. Like and that was really what developed whatever it is that I do.
Yeah.
This idea that people should have a conversation, that interviews for me, I had no real interest in that. A lot of times I don't really know how it's going to go. I never know how it's going to go. I'm always nervous before conversations. That's a good example when I had to interview Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio
and you were
together.
nervous. Well, I want to know how nervous you were before interviewing Barack Obama. We're going to go to a break. We'll be back with Marc Maron, the king of podcasts, the OG of podcasts. We'll find out how that Obama interview went in his garage after the break.
On a deeper level, the reason we're not more upset about the world ending environmentally is I think all of us in our hearts really know that we did everything we could. We really, right? I mean, we really did. I mean, think about it. We brought our own bags to the supermarket. Yeah, that's about it. Like we brought the bags.
That was a clip from Marc Maron's Netflix special, Marc Maron End Times Fun. It was just, by the way, nominated for a Critics' Choice Award, and Marc's podcast, WTF, is downloaded over 6 million times a month. Marc, you worked on that project with Lynn, and you said at the time of y'all's working relationship that you are a stubborn, difficult man, and you said she could be stubborn too when she had a vision, but she wasn't difficult. How was it working together on that project?
Well, she was my my best audience. I mean, she was just laughing all the time. I just felt compelled to make her laugh all the time. So over the period of working with her, I mean, she's directed me in television shows and other things, but the two specials, Too Real and End Times Fun, we worked intimately together, and I trusted her with my particular brain, with my creativity, with my jokes. Like I knew that, I trusted her in telling me maybe we should not use that joke or use this joke. And over the period of working together, I was able to develop these shows that, had a beginning, middle, and end. And I just trusted her instincts. And she really was such a fan of mine that the way she shot them, she was able to create an intimacy that I think was unique for a comedy special.
I love that you said your particular brain, because that one time I interviewed you, some of your fans said, she doesn't get you, Marc. She clearly doesn't know. And I'm like, I get Marc. Remember that? I got all this heat because I didn't get your brain. And I was thinking of that when you interviewed Barack Obama. You normally don't study. Your brain is, you don't study for interviews. You launched in. But for that interview, you did study, but you brought him in the garage. Like, how did you even get Secret Service clearance to bring him in the garage?
That was his choice. When they told me we were going to do it, I'm like, am I going to the White House? And they told me, no, he wants to come to the garage. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. The president is going to come to my house, and then you have to go the security detail. They had to come 2 weeks before. My producer Brendan went to the house.
Did you have to hide stuff in your house, like things that you thought, like, I don't want them to see this?
No, but they took things out of the garage. Like I had a pocket knife, and I'm like, if you're worried, what do you think's going to happen? If anything, he's going to kill me. But But the thing was that it was really kind of crazy because they had to have snipers. They had guys come over to figure out where they could put the snipers because they got to create an eye line. And my neighbor, they put snipers on his roof.
Are you
I had to
kidding?
ask my neighbor if it would be okay to put snipers on the roof. And he was like, of course. He's retired. It was the greatest thing that ever happened to him in the last 10 years. So big deal.